Welcome to the Big Biz Show, featuring insight, analysis, and a lot of stuff that's none of your business.
Hold on. This is the Big Biz Show. I think it is their business.
Making the markets work for you. Here's the man with the plan, Sully.
Well, hey there, live from the Loft 100 studios in sunny San Diego, California. Welcome to your Tuesday. Big Biz Show is on the air. Only 4 more sleeps until Memorial Day weekend. Oh, here we go. You guys got any plans for Memorial Day weekend?
Sleep, and
Is sleep a commodity for you? Like, is that
Yes.
what you like when you're off? Do you sleep?
I love to sleep.
I-
And I don't get enough of it. I'm traveling all the time with the girls, and I'm working or I'm traveling. So this weekend, I'm doing that.
So what does sleep? So what's sleeping in look like to you? 6:30 in the morning, or 10?
9.
No kidding.
Yeah.
God, would you?
If I don't have it, set an alarm.
Greg and I get more done between 4:30 and 6.
I know.
If I woke up at 9, I'd feel half the day was gone.
Can we talk about this? Because this is a thing. I wish that I were a morning person, but
Are you
I'm
just not?
Oh God, it's pain
Now, is this
in
happened?
my eyeballs.
Is this happened as you gotten older, or have you always
No,
not
my
been
whole
morning?
life.
Your whole life.
And it's pain in my eyeballs. It hurts my head. I don't want to talk to
Are you a
anybody.
pop out of bed person at 9?
no.
But at 9 o'clock, are you?
No,
Still
I'm
no.
still like, let's
You're,
just be on my
you're like the
phone.
off ramp.
Yeah.
Are you on ramping when you go to bed? Or you're phone?
And then I'm up all night. I mean, I'm up till midnight or 1 in the morning because I love
Can I
it.
tell you a wonderful drug that I found? I'm not kidding, and this is not an endorsement. I took Ambien and for about a week, and then I realized I was groggy in the morning, and nothing against the folks against Ambien. It just didn't work for me. And I heard that it was, there was better. So I had a friend of mine tell me, you should ask your doctor about this thing called trazodone. And I said, well, I can fall asleep right here. Put my hands on my head, I'm done.
Yeah.
If I lay down and put my hand on my head, I can sleep on rocks. This keeps you asleep, and you take it when you need it. It's called trazodone. That's the drug name for it.
Yeah.
And I take it probably twice a week.
And it helps you sleep.
Because I'm up. What happens if I get up, and me and Mike are on our third pee at 11 o'clock. So,
I do get up to pee a lot.
so 11 o'clock, it's like, so the thing is that my mind starts going. What did I forget? What do I have to write down?
Yep.
Yes.
I found this meditation, the Sleep Better app that has some Australian psychologist lady talk to
I do those.
hypnosis thing.
Yep.
Calm? What?
No, it's called Better Sleep.
Oh, okay.
So that and a trazodone, man, it might as well be having 5
to
shots
go.
of tequila and a big beer belly bomb.
Works.
Burrito.
I'll
That's
wake
right.
up at 3 or 4 in the morning and not be able to sleep. Same thing.
Do you know who sleeps like a baby?
Who?
Howie Font. Or,
Oh.
what's up, Hal? What's up, brother? Do you have any trouble sleeping at all? Are you a sleep-in guy?
No, I'm kind of like you as far as my morning routine, but pretty good.
Yeah, I
5,
don't.
6, 7 hours, no problem.
I don't want to sleep in the weekends. I want to
Wait,
get
5,
it
6
going.
hours?
What do you got for us today? What's the markets doing today? You talk about your stuff. Let me look at the markets while we're talking about this stuff, because Tuesday, I slept in my car Monday earlier this morning when I looked at the stock market. It sort of feels like we're coming out. The capital markets are opening up. It feels like the market's doing the right thing. It feels also like, regardless of the recession and bad economic advice, traders are still trading in the market. It's a good time to invest. So I'm going to let you talk about that later in the week, but I understand you have something very special for us today.
Well, I don't know if anybody else knows this, but you and I were having a conversation a couple of weeks ago about, whatever happened to, we just talked about a bunch of old companies.
FedMart. Whatever happened to
Handyman.
Safeway? Whatever
Food
happened?
basket.
Food basket.
We had the idea to make it a
Groupon.
segment, and I thought that I would start off by whatever happened to Circuit City.
Oh my gosh! See, I told Howie this is the type of segment that he's going to say something and we're going to go. So what was Circuit City like a Best Buy?
That's exactly what happened to Circuit City.
Yeah.
What happened to Circuit
Right.
City?
We're going to continue this conversation, but real quickly before we go to break, what happened to Circuit City? What's the short straws?
Fries.
The short story is, after operating for 60 years, being the wonder IPO
60
of 1984.
years. Wait, Circuit City
Yeah.
was there before I was born?
It started off as the Wards Company in 1949, and it ended in 2009.
Wait.
They started CarMax. They owned every Radio Shack and Battery Plus in Canada.
Okay, I'll stay there. This is important. Radio Shack. I miss Radio Shack.
Oh, man, that was
Do you know why I miss Radio Shack? If I
Lots
need a
of important
fuse or
things.
something, stand by, Howard. We'll be right back. Big Biz Show. Whatever happened to? Whatever happened
Great
to
segment.
Okay, Howie said wards. Is that like
Monkey Wars? Montgomery
Montgomery
Wars?
Wards. I think so.
Walker Scott?
Oh wow, you're digging.
The May Company? Robinsons?
Bullocks?
Oh.
Bullocks?
Oh.
That's Bullocks.
Welcome to the Big Biz Show, featuring insight, analysis, and a lot of stuff that's none of your business.
Hold on. This is the Big Biz Show. I think it is their business.
Making the markets work for you. Here's the man with the plan, Sully.
Big B Show rolling on. Beautiful Tuesday, America's finest city. Asta, Fairburn, God, Great Chatterup.
You know,
Sully's the man.
So we got Howie with us from New York, and he's talking about whatever happened at Circuit City. But before I can think of so many. I can think of so many stores.
Oh,
and
yeah.
so many like, dare I say, Sears Roebuck?
Oh.
Sears is gone.
They don't.
Sears, excitingly Sears.
Excitingly Sears.
And downstairs, next to the Sears Craftsman tool section, was the warm cashew station, where you could purchase.
Okay.
Where basically it was a light bulb over stale cashews that were
Yes,
oversalted,
yes.
but you got a little in the bag and they were warm. And to this day, you can't do that at home.
And you can't replicate the smell too.
Yeah, it was. Do you recall? Were you two? You're maybe too young for this. Do you remember this?
Oh yeah, I do.
And you get the little bag of cashews.
Yeah, I definitely
And it wasn't just peanuts. It wasn't Brazil nuts. It wasn't walnuts. It was cashew. It was the king from the cashew apple.
And I believe it was Walker Scott that had their candy area.
You mean candy?
Yeah.
Because when you eat too much, you sound like this. Hey, Mom, can I have some candy?
And they
so much
sold-
snot in the back of the door. I really want some more candy.
They sold the long bag of freshly popped popcorn.
Yes.
The tube.
Oh, yeah, those
popcorn,
were cool.
and it was
I remember
warm.
those.
And it was warm.
And the best part about that thing, it wasn't a printed error. It was the oil stain on the bag that you were seeing throughout the bag on the way up.
Beautiful.
And can I tell you this? Is there anything better than the motor oil that's yellow that tastes like a butter-flavored product?
Nope.
No.
Nope.
I'm talking. Do you know what this is the international symbol for? Tell me what this is the international symbol for. Mike knows.
You're stirring up the butter and the salt on the popcorn.
No.
What?
No. Close. Do you know what this is? This is when you get your popcorn at the old AMC theaters,
Yes.
and you got to work with the butter station yourself.
Under.
Hit it, you went.
Yeah.
I want it everywhere.
So then you got to shake it up to get it
No.
distributed.
What I would do is this. Fill it halfway. I'll be right back.
1,000%.
Oh, that's so smart.
That's right.
Head back.
That's right.
Now listen. Can anybody have a full thing of popcorn like that without putting a full thing of peanut M&Ms, a full thing of Raisinets, and some Junior Mints, and then hustle it up? It is. Oh, did I just introduce you to something?
What are you talking? I've never done that.
Look at Mike's done for the day. Dude, he's weeping in. Have you not done this?
There's the man landing on the moon.
Yeah,
And then there's that.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
a
have you?
life-
Howie, have you ever done this?
life-changing
This is.
moment.
Have you? When you get popcorn, you must take peanut
I'm
M&Ms.
actually not allowed to have that much sugar after.
Because he's still living at home with his parents.
Put your leash
Oh
on.
wow.
Listen, you take a full box of peanut M&Ms, okay? You take a full box of Raisinets, and then you take Junior Mints, which, gotta tell you, you better have some wet naps. 'Cause they're gonna melt.
Yeah,
They
they
melt
melt.
on you.
You got butter, you got salt, you got popcorn, you got sweet goodness, and you got peanuts.
The only thing I do is after I butter bath, I'll throw chopped jalapenos on it.
Chopped jalapenos. in it.
Yeah, so you do a little jalapeno.
Fresh.
So Howie, back to speaking
Back
of
to this.
popcorn, what happened to Circuit
Circuit
City?
Starving.
Circuit. So wait,
what-
can you name some of the companies? We got to Monkey Wards. We call them Monkey Wards, Montgomery Wards, and Electric Avenue, if I'm not mistaken, was inside of Montgomery Ward.
God, yes it was.
Can you tell me what happened? Was Circuit City owned how many brands? Did you say they owned CarMax?
Oh my gosh, they've gone through a plethora, and they've touched a lot of the stores that you've been talking about. In the early 90s, they had a chance to buy Best Buy for $30 million. Best Buy is now $15 billion. So oops, they thought that they could outcompete. In the 90s economic boom, the tech boom, they spent their time developing and then spinning off CarMax. Yes, Circuit City spun off CarMax. Crazy. They owned all the Radio Shacks and Battery Plus locations in Canada. And they were only second to Sears when it came to large appliances.
I remember Circuit
They
City
did
was
too many things. Yeah.
But Circuit City was omnipresent in the mid 90s and late 80s.
You get everything.
totally.
When did it go out of business, Howie? Or when did it fade from retail? I mean, obviously, we're a holding company
Yeah.
for a while, but
The 2000s were really hard for it. They actually in the mid 2000s cut all their commission positions, put them on salary, and then lowered their salaries. So that's not great. And then they finally declared bankruptcy in 2008 when they actually got a last minute bid over the summer of 2007 for $1 billion for the whole company from Blockbuster.
Now, did they buy to put them out of business? Why did
Blockbuster eventually pulled the deal, but I just wanted to touch all of these old companies and they couldn't make the business work.
So wait a second. So all the companies they touched. Okay, so they touched. What do they start out as again? You'd say Ward.
Ward.
Like Montgomery Ward.
WARD.
So they touch. So Circuit City touches Best Buy, which is still in business, the worst customer service on the planet, and then also touches on what was the other one you just said? You just mentioned
Blockbuster, Sears, CarMax, Radio Shack, Battery Plus.
Battery Plus, Radio Shack, and the one I can't remember you just said 4 times, Blockbuster, all out of business, including Circuit City. Yeah. Boy, that's the nail in the coffin. Hey, Circuit City wants to buy it.
You want to be in.
Do we blame Fry's for this? Because Fry's was the big name brand. I mean,
Fry's was an also ran to Circuit City and Best Buy.
Weren't Fry's Incredible
Universe's
first?
Incredible Universe.
No, Fry's is gone.
Fry's is gone?
Yep. Yeah.
Incredible Universe is now a pretty cool golf driving range.
Yeah, it is. You're right.
I've got a question on you talk about obsolescence in a company. I'm going to name the company because I'm just so frustrated.
Do it. Be brave.
My 110-pound 1-year-old puppy, Marcus Aurelius, is a Bernese Mountain Dog. Is the size of a small Volkswagen.
Yep.
We got a halo collar. A halo collar is a collar that has 2 points on it that vibrate. It's not a shock collar, but you can draw. It's a very cool Caesar Milan.
The dog whisperer.
I can draw. We have a very big property. You can draw the line, so it goes near the property, like maybe out towards the street.
Yep.
It just says I can go, hey, good boy. Like it freaks him out. It's basically a freak out thing. It's like you walk in and go, hey, Mike, what? Yeah. You ever see Meet Joe Black? Yeah. You know, when the voice in his head? It's kind of like that. Okay. He just stops and drops. Okay. So I want to buy, because look at it, it's a dog, right? I want to buy a new cover for the thing. I want to buy $100 worth of accessories. Okay. I've been declined 5 times, and what they do is this. And I had a conversation today about this because I was on the phone for 17 minutes today trying to buy 100, and I still don't have my product. Okay. They have an address problem because of an old zip code that used to be in my area, which is no longer there. But I'm sorry, we just can't ship there. I said, okay, let me ask you this.
This is a big name company?
Halos, and they're kind of the state of the art for non-invasive dog perimeters. They don't zap you. It's not like invisible fence. It was like, okay, I'm never going to go, right? And I said, look, man, this is a classic story of how you guys are going to end up going out of business. Because I guarantee, I'm not the first, I'm just $100. Your product costs $500.
Yeah.
How many $500 sales are you losing because, and by the way, if you put in the wrong credit card number, 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to say, hey, we have a wrong, can you go back and correct it? These guys just shut your order, you got to go back every time. So I've gone back every time, ordered 5 times. I finally got on the phone with this guy for 17 minutes today. I said, this is ridiculous. What's going on? He's trying to put my address in. It won't work. They're escalating it. They're escalating.
You've got to escalate it.
Now, Howie, this is the type of stuff here, and I'm not bitching just because it's a big deal.
No, it's an excellent point.
But it's those things, it's those things where that's why these businesses, there's not this seamless thing that happens from the CEO. We've talked about this before with Shep Hyken.
Yep.
There's not this thing from beginning to end.
Halo's about to become hell no.
Well, yeah, I'm bummed because it's a great product, and I just know because they are mismanaged and they're so. Here's the deal. To their credit, they have a customer service phone number. I've never heard that before. I was actually talking to a person.
Okay.
But they will not allow you to. It's just so disjointed. I'm thinking, who's the genius?
The 1990s called and wants their customer service back.
Well, what you need is, but it's a genius.
In a world where we have a dozen or more payment platforms, they shouldn't be rejecting anybody that's just trying to give them money.
No.
And
having said that fairly, it could be me because I was telling Mary this morning. I tried to clean up our Amazon business account, and I locked myself out today. So, fairly speaking, I may or may not have. What did you say, Jared? Jared said something to me. What did you say? Yeah, it's like when Rusty Nails deleted his trash can off of the off of his home screen. He didn't just put the trash, he deleted his trash. This is, of course, God rest his soul. I miss him every day. The same guy who went to Russia for Dan Negroni's wedding, who will be on the air with us in just a second. First thing he does is go in the lobby of the hotel and says, "What's your Wi-Fi password?" In Russia. I'm not kidding. So, just the moral of the story is there may be operator error here. Howie, thank you, sir. We'll see you tomorrow. Howie.
Bye, Howie.
God, I love that. Whatever happened to?
Yeah.
That's a good segment.
You all have them in your own hometown.
Oh.
Whatever happened to Diego's?
It kind of makes you feel old.
What did is there anything in Cincinnati you used to have? Was like the
Swallens.
Swallens?
There was this place called Swallens. It was very similar to.
I had a couple of Swallens removed, like Ronald Reagan first introduced the word Swallen.
Don't they head up to Capistrano?
Yeah. Yes, they do. Big Biz Show.
The annual migration.
Big B Show rolling off from the Loft 100 studios. Hope you guys are having a great day. Mike Costa, Mary Godwin.
Having a great time.
Great town, Ralph. Let me have the butter.
We're having a great time here in Las Vegas. And Bing Bang Booze and the Boozes and the Bangs and the Big Biz Show. Don't you miss Tony Bennett? Come on.
Of course. I was listening to some jazz over the weekend. It was Tony Bennett and Mel Torme going back and forth.
That'd be great. Wow.
I thought you were going to say Mel Knepp.
No, why didn't old names sound
Old newscaster.
That's right. Oh
Big Biz Show. It is a Worker of the Future Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. Our good friend Dan Negroni's with us. We were just talking about Russ going to Dan's son's wedding in Russia, and the first thing Russ does is sit in the lobby and ask for the Wi-Fi password. Like, see, idiot. Like,
Did that really happen?
hey, can we say a big hello to the
allowed to
Dinner
talk
Trio?
about that wedding.
Can we get a blam, please? I haven't heard from you guys all day. Come on. What's wild about that is Brian
ETT.
Gordon played with James Brown. Dan, great to see you. Dan Negroni, of course, is a close friend of mine. Saved my life a number of occasions in a number of places in terms of fitness and such. Looks like a men's health model at the spry age of celebrating his 40th anniversary of his 15th birthday.
Nice.
So he's doing well. Do you still consider yourself a millennial expert? Are you a worker of the future expert? Or are you just an expert?
Just like you guys, we change our clothes every once in a while. I think what we would say is we are people activation experts.
Wow.
So it doesn't matter what the generation is, it's how do you activate people to perform their best in the workplace and create growth, innovation, and all those great things.
I want to start by having you tell folks how to see you on social, because you have some great content.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really consumable bites that actually my daughters now subscribe to you because, 6 out of every 10, they go, "Oh, I'm writing that down." How do people see you?
Now I feel super guilty for not doing my videos this month. But yes, we dannegroni.com is the website.
Is that content there, or do they just go?
The content's there, or social is dan.negroni on Insta or LinkedIn as well. So we're writing a lot more content, and we give the tips on video, of course.
Do you do the same content on both platforms?
Yes.
Okay.
What's the
a little different, actually.
So what's the latest in terms of maximizing the worker of the future? You said something so remarkable when we started talking about this several years ago, and the time has come. At the time, you said in 5 years, 85% of your customers will be millennials, and 85% of the workforce will be millennials.
Actually, it was 5 years ago because it was in 2025. Actually, 75% of the workforce will be millennials. And now we have Gen Zs. And they'll be your customers too. So what let's figure this out.
Because at the time, you had a corporate environment that needed to learn how to communicate with them, and they needed to learn. And then now we're here.
I think COVID, obviously, remote work, flexible work, disconnection like you've never seen. Like my young one who's on his second job, but the first job he left, he was there almost a year because he never went to the workplace ever. Yeah. Like he sat at home with probably underwear, dirty underwear on the bottom. And
well, let me ask you this, because you and I have talked about this before in the past. My daughters flew up in the leathers their entire life. And I remember talking to my ex-wife saying, you know what, they don't understand the value of money, and I'm not very good at showing them. So one time we said they need to get summer jobs where they're dealing with the public. Yeah. So they both of them went to work for the fair, San Diego County Fair.
Oh,
which
Chicken Charlie.
hello,
Chicken Charlie.
It's coming up.
By the way, but I'll tell you what, it was the best thing they could do because not only could they not dig their toe in the sand, they had to have interaction. They had to deal. It was probably the best thing we did. And suddenly, we said to them, "Okay, we'll pay for your room, boarding, that type of stuff. But you got to pay for your own clothes and your own fun and your gas." Yeah. Suddenly, they're not shopping at Anthropologie anymore. Right. Yep. They discovered
only on your credit card.
Yeah. Well, no, they're on their own. But the point I'm trying to make is, if those workers are not in the workforce, it's almost like you need to push them out of the nest for the second time. Is that true or false?
Yes.
Okay.
It's true, and it's false in some respects, but it's completely true that they need to learn how to connect. And here's what we have going on, right? Like the slowest the workplace has ever been was yesterday, right? It gets faster every single day.
That's a great.
And so technology is, AI is unbelievable. And I have some stories about AI coaching, what's new in the workplace, which is crazy. But it's growing so quickly that people almost feel like there's not a use for them, which is exactly the opposite. We got to double down on connection and dealing with people because the AI is making everything so easy that the only thing we need is the connection of people.
So you bring up AI, though. Let me harken you back to a gentler time in 1925 when the Ford factory decided to automate their system, and suddenly workers went out of business because of automation.
Yeah.
Are you teaching folks to be indispensable because AI's a coming and they can take your job? Because that's really what this is about now,
Well,
right?
we've gone from the physical economy, which you were just talking about, then we went to the thinking economy when Ford happened, and we've been in the thinking economy. Now we're going to the, I don't want to sound too woke, but the feeling economy, which is how are we going to make people feel, right?
In the meantime, Mike is saying,
Mike's like,
F your feelings!
I was like, let's go to Mike's inner monologue right now.
Well, I mean,
sending this suit back for what?
Great movie. Great movie, by the way.
Hear you, got you. The difference is this, we always circle back to what's most important. Community, who you connect to, what even the tech companies are realizing inbound leads are dead, outbound leads are hard. No one's picking up the phone because everything's so confused. How do we do, they're calling it nearbound. And nearbound is how do I create a community that understands my customer? And so I'm sharing customers. I'm bringing people together. I'm providing more value. Who do I need to interrelate with?
His name is Dan Negroni, by the way, launchbox365.com. Is that still the website?
Dan Negroni.
DanNegroni.com.
Yeah.
I believe it was you first said, I'd never heard it before, you said finding your why.
Yeah.
Does that apply to employees and companies alike?
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, we got to know who we are. What do you guys think the most important work-life skill is? We got
Communication.
Communication, number one answer. Yeah. Number one answer. People skills.
Lunch is a close.
Cash flow. Cash is more important than your grandmother.
There's a study about we really connect if it's over food more than anything else. But the number one skill is to build relationships, right? Because first the relationship with yourself, so you understand how you can connect with others, then relationship with others. So if you don't know your why, it is very difficult to be able to connect with others.
And you have to do that within your community or within your business, and then you do it with your customers.
You better do it everywhere, right? Because it's like who you are. And there's a limbic part of the brain, this thing called logotherapy. If you've ever heard of Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, is we do things because there's meaning or there's why. That's how human beings are built.
What is the name of that?
It's called logotherapy. It's right.
Me and Mike are part of the Church of the Subgenius, where it means that do as little work as possible to try to act like you're the most successful. Your philosophy has always been about internalizing, but also knowing who you're talking to.
Right.
Right.
So,
and I forget how you put it.
3 parts. So we call it strengths and story. Who am I? What am I good at? And how am I going to provide that value to the world? Why am I doing it? And then what is my narrative psychology? What's the story? Strengths and story. The only way you connect with people 21 times more likely to remember a story. That's why you tell stories when you're here. And so narrative psychology is really that's the glue for the connection that makes connection currency.
His name's Dan Negroni, dannegroni.com. Go visit him on social. Go to his website. He's got, from your kids to your parents, to take some. You need to be a regular part of this program, pal.
I'd like
There he
to.
is.
That's what I think.
You're tanner now,
Yeah,
but you're as good looking as ever.
We want to talk about your kid's wedding.
Oh my God, it's so fun.
See this?
Big, yeah, because the Rusty thing. Big Biz Show. Continue. Stand by. We're right back. Loft 100 Studios, the Big Biz Show, and our affiliates and our hosts are not registered investment advisors or broker-dealers.
Our show hosts make no commitment that the purchase of securities of companies profiled or otherwise mentioned in our programming
are suitable or advisable for any person, or that an investment in such securities will be profitable in general.
Given the nature of the company's profile and the lack of an active trading market for the securities, investing is highly speculative and carries a certain high degree of risk.
We profile selected publicly traded and privately held companies on our program.
Most of these companies that we profile have provided compensation to Loft 100 Studios and its hosts for the profile coverage.
From time to time, we sell shares of the companies profiled in the open market that we receive as compensation for coverage of client companies.
But never sell stocks if we are speaking about interviewing or covering a public company who has paid compensation.
Specific questions on compensation can be obtained by contacting producer at SullyCrew.com.
Listeners should verify all claims and do their own due diligence before investing in any securities mentioned on this program.
Investing in securities is speculative and carries a high degree of risk.
We encourage our investors to invest carefully and read the investor information available at the websites on the
Securities and Exchange Commission at sec.gov and or the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, FINRA, at www.finra.org.
I like it.
It is the Big Biz Show from sunny Southern California. Hope you guys are having a good day. Mike Costa, Mary Bird Godwin, Greg Todorov on this side of the bar. That guy is Sully on that side of the bar.
Thank you to Dan Negroni. Once again, dannegroni.com. Coming up in just a second, Eric at Dresselhuys. We are brought to you by Prudential. Let Prudential be your rock for retirement. Also brought to you by Bayer Advanced. Better science, better results. Starbucks coffee. And of course, Outback Steakhouse and their fine family of restaurants, including Carrabba's Italian Grill, Bonefish Grill, Fleming's Restaurant, and Outback Steakhouse with the authentic Australian food. Put another midget on Barbie. I beg your pardon. Put another shrimp on the Bobby. I got that wrong. I'm sorry. I'm misunderstanding.
Nope. The first time I heard you say authentic Australian food, I nearly fell out of, this is the old place, I fell out of my stool.
I mean, with the blooming onions?
The blooming onions.
They grow on the sides of the roads.
On the side of the roads down there.
You know what a blooming onion is? Basically, they take an onion and they do a crosshatch going cheek, 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 and they turn it. It looks like a tic tac.
Yep.
And then they dip it in pancake batter and they shove it in a deep fryer and it goes week, and it's a blooming onion.
Yeah.
That happens on the arid plains
of Adelaide.
Of Adelaide. And which is just south.
It tickles my funny bone every single time.
We need to have Troy Hazard back on the air.
Yes.
Troy Hazard, TroyHazard.com, fantastic keynote speaker, wrote Future Proofing Your Business. And speaking of Russ, we've been talking to Russ today. He came to the studio for the first time in America trying to break into the keynote speaking business. He wrote a book called The Naked Entrepreneur, talking about some failures in entrepreneurship. And he's bald like Dr. Evil bald.
Right.
He's bald like the guy in Annie. Right? They'll bring you back. He's bald like the guy, John Locke from Lost.
Oh, love him.
Wow.
Telly Savalas.
This is how, Telly Savalas. You got it, baby.
Yeah.
You better believe, no, that's Tom, shotgun Tom. Sorry.
He's got it.
It was something about, there was a baby involved there. I mean, not a real baby, he called people baby.
Well, that lollipop, I think.
Lollipop thing, right? That's it.
Yeah.
So Russ was so quick
Kojak.
that when Troy was talking, he goes, yeah, and sometimes you have to pay. Russ says, did you say to pay? That fast. That quick. And that's what we miss about Russ. Hey, Eric Dresselhuys is with us. He is the CEO of S Inc. That's ESS Inc. Their stock symbol is GWH. It is the world of long duration energy storage. This is not just about EVs, which is what I like to call electric vehicles.
Yes.
But this is about much larger iron flow batteries and renewable energy. And I think every time we talk to him, we get a ton of emails about, are we are we going in this? Is the world going this way? Because we see it more and more every day. I give you Eric Dresselhuys. Eric, great to see you again, pal. I appreciate you taking the time out there of your busy schedule as a CEO. Can I ask you? I've asked you this a number of times. I'm going to start by saying, where do you see long duration energy storage going over the next 20 years? Because right now we're sort of pre-peak and it's happening, right? So what does 20 years from now look like for us as consumers?
20 years from now, that's a good long stretch. And I think by then, this is just part of how the world works, right? This is just an embedded part of how reliable electricity gets delivered to homes, because you really can't move through the energy transition to, greener, cleaner, more locally produced ways of getting electricity without having something like long duration storage that's making the system reliable. So I think it's going to be like the sidewalk.
Eric, we're about to have a presidential election, and it doesn't matter who you hope is in the Oval Office. How does it affect, though, what the country needs to do as far as infrastructure is concerned and the grid and things like that? Because I'd hate for us to get in that mode of, okay, we're going to push this forward. Somebody comes in,
and we're not going to do it.
We're not ready. We're not going to push it forward. And then where are we with that?
Well, listen, I think that making infrastructure a political issue is a pretty dumb idea for the country. Because if you look at what's happening in the energy markets, and everybody's talking about AI and generative AI and all of these, the reindustrialization of America, all things that so far as I know, both presidential candidates back, and all of these take more electricity. So how are you going to make the electricity? How are you going to distribute the electricity? How are you going to ensure that the energy system is sufficient to drive economic growth? And I don't think that's a political issue one way or the other. So I think, listen, I think if there's a change in Washington on the margins, there are certainly going to be some things that get looked at and people are going to poke on, but in the main, it's going to all be there.
Okay. So by the way, Eric Dresselhuys is his name. He's the CEO of a company called S Inc. And of course, their stock symbol is GWH. You can go to essinc.com. So that's the top down. For the people that haven't heard you, our Bloomberg audience that we picked up in Mexico, and then of course, we're about to go into Europe with it. Talk about what you guys do as a company and how you are turning your energy center, as the video shows, into long-term energy storage, and how that's going to change the world.
Yeah, well, at a technical level, we've come up with a thing that's known as an iron flow battery. And what we do is we make rust. In a simple case, we take excess electricity from wind, solar, or any other source for that matter, and we charge the battery. And when we do that, it actually literally plates rust. And then when you need the power back, you reverse the polarity in the battery and you get the electricity back, and the rust goes back into an electrolyte. So it's a really fascinating process. It's safe. We can build it all with materials here in the US, so we're not reliant on a supply chain from China or some far out place. And it's really something that prioritizes American ingenuity and creativity over just a mining or kind of mineral extraction issue. So we think that's kind of cool that, this is what we're good at here in the US. We're good at innovation.
Hey, Eric, how did you get started in this industry in the first place?
Well, I've worked in the energy industry for about 30 years now, all on the idea of finding the technologies that are going to really transform it. And so I've spent time innovating in what's now part of everybody's life, or what we call the smart grid. And it's really the automating and control of everything of how we distribute electricity. But through that time, we knew that storage was going to be the thing that was going to make the energy transition work. And so I had a chance about 3 years ago to step in at ESS as CEO and help scale the company, which is what I've been doing for about 30 years. And it couldn't be a more exciting place to be.
I'll say. Talk about, as much as you can, because I realize you're a CEO of a public company, but strategic goals that we can look forward to for the remainder of the year. I mean, we're closing in on the second half of the year here in just a few months.
Yeah.
What do you think? What are you looking forward to there?
Time flies.
Yeah, it really does.
No, it's really, our focus is really straightforward. We're scaling the business now and driving cost out, because in this kind of a business, the name of the game is just keep driving costs out of the product, improve margins along the way, but offer a better value proposition to our customers. So we've got projects in the US, projects in Australia, projects in Europe. We just announced a big project in Africa. So, it's scale up on the production and the volume, and scale down on the cost.
His name's Eric Dresselhuys, CEO of S Inc, stock symbol GWS. Eric, thanks so much. We'll see you next week. I appreciate you coming on with us as usual. Love hearing the story because it's interesting. Here in San Diego, we had a huge power loss. The entire city went down because of a breach in Arizona.
Yes.
Back in about 2010, when I
Yeah.
something like
Sounds
that.
about right.
Something like that. And yet we're still so confident in our grid. And I would argue, are we confident that we would use the renewable energy? Because we're thinking, well, what if it's foggy outside? I mean, I still think there needs to be an adoption thing that's happening, correct?
You know how Doc Brown got hit in Back to the Future?
Yes, of
and
course.
And he hit his head, and then you saw the flux capacitor, and he
Yes.
invented it. I want to know who's Eric's flux capacitor inventor. Like, who came up with that, who was looking at the wall one day
Probably
saying,
him.
I got to ask that next time he's on with us next week. Who drew that up and said, I think this will work?
And by the way, and are they continuing to draw it up?
Yeah.
I mean, is it because I think Dan said, yesterday you're 2,000 late starting yesterday. So
yeah,
yesterday's information is old news. I wonder if these guys continue to have to, which makes me wonder, will we ever have an infrastructure for it? Hey, coming up next, Mike wants to talk about gambling again.
Yeah.
Our friends from PrizePicks are coming on the air with us.
Yes.
Now we're talking.
And I just spilled something on my shirt, so I will be changing on the break. Yes, it may have been a gravy stain, one of my 4 food groups.
Can't even notice it.
Big Biz Show coming up. Stand by. Great to have you along. Mike Costa's here.
Hello.
Can you do your, everyone having a good time? You having a good time too?
Look at the time at 11:47 after 11. We're 13 minutes in front of 12 on a beautiful Thursday in America's finest city.
Thank you, Mark. Can you please introduce our next guest?
He is the co-founder and CEO of Full Transparency is the platform I use. It's the charity that I regularly donate to with my money. PrizePicks CEO and co-founder Adam Wexler joins us here in the Big Biz Show.
Will you please, Adam, tell us the idea behind PrizePicks and how this whole business model works for us? Because I am unfamiliar.
Sure. Appreciate you guys having me. Been in the fantasy sports industry now for about a decade, and what got me in, I'm a season-long fantasy league consumer like many other people every fall. And I was spending a lot of time studying up on my team and figuring out that Patrick Mahomes was going to go off every weekend, and I wanted to put some money behind that prediction, and there wasn't a means to do so. But I love the concept of daily fantasy sports. I just I was not really fond of the execution. And next thing you know, we found our footing with PrizePicks. It's our third product since I've been in the fantasy sports space. We started working on PrizePicks in late 2017, and here we find ourselves, and we're the largest paid fantasy operator in North America.
How did you guys get to the point that it was so seamless and so easy to use?
I think first and foremost, we needed to simplify the concept of daily fantasy. It's a great concept. It just, the original incarnation, which was popularized by DraftKings and FanDuel, was very cumbersome. You had to know everything about every player, everybody you were playing against.
Right.
But the laws as they read, the primary, requirement was that any fantasy contest just must involve multiple players from multiple teams. You're creating a fantasy lineup. And so we kind of took those laws that were being put in place in the middle of last decade, and we kind of built on top of that. And naturally, it's something that the consumers have gravitated towards. And it was really in 2021 when we stepped on the gas coming out of the pandemic. Sports came roaring back, and it was the right time to. We had already laid the foundation a couple of years leading into the pandemic, and once we had the right team ready to hit the gas, and we did just that.
Hey, Adam, by the way, Adam Wexler is his name. He's the co-founder and CEO of PrizePicks. You can go to prizepicks.com. Can you talk to us about how the apparatus works? So let's, for those of us who are not in fantasy sports, me and Mary, basically, can you tell us how the operation is? Because you are always talking about how easy this is. Can you walk us through here for the folks that are unfamiliar?
Yeah, fantasy sports as a whole dates back to the middle of last century. Probably originated with rotisserie baseball. Friends getting together and drafting these fantasy teams. Progressed to more recently this past generation. I think it was very much oriented around fantasy football. 12 friends get together, they all pool some money, they make things interesting every single week. They draft the team at the beginning of the season. Then daily fantasy got popularized over the last decade plus. like I said, there was an initial variety called the salary cap form of daily fantasy, and then we came along with what is more commonly known these days as the pick'em category, and we are at the forefront of that pick'em category, and it's the easiest way to play. We say we want you to be able to do your research so you put yourself in a position to win, but we want you to also at the same time be able to get in and out in less than 60 seconds if you want to.
Daily fantasy sport is anything else that's playing during the week? Am I understanding that correctly?
I mean, we offer all kinds of sports. Obviously tonight and this time of year, it's NBA playoff season first and foremost. But at the same time, we just had WNBA tip off, and we've got an incredibly strong basketball product. I feel like we kind of filled a void in the market that was fantasy basketball. You never really used to hear about fantasy basketball as much of a thing, but yet TV ratings, the popularity of the NBA were just continuing to skyrocket. And finally, there was a game that was created and a category that was created that largely centered around, a simple question: is LeBron going to drop 25 tonight or not? That's kind of what the core question boils down to.
And so, Adam, you can spend as much or as little as you want and do as many bets or as little bets as you want. Like you just said, you could just pick one and, $5 or $500 or whatever you want to do.
So I'm actually glad you asked it just like that. So what you just described is actually a sports bet. So we're not allowed to facilitate sports bets, nor do we facilitate sports bets. In order for it to become a fantasy contest, it has to involve, like I said earlier, multiple players from multiple teams. You're creating a fantasy, made up lineup that doesn't exist. And once you hit that criteria, then you can basically play anywhere from 2 to 6 picks. But once again, it has to hit that criteria. So for example, if I wanted to, make predictions around all the Nuggets players tonight, well, I would have to find somebody else in another game or on another team where we would accept that submission.
That makes sense. I'm going to ask you something. So I obviously, as an investor and a guy who runs a hedge fund and a number of other things, I get approached by 2 or 3 guys a year wanting to put together the real story behind injured reserve and injuries, because in sports, injuries matter because of the betting line.
Sure.
Is this, so when I hear these guys come up to us, and Mike, you're a good guy to ask too, these guys are telling me, I've got the real doctor who can tell us if it's really actually injured or not. Is that just garbage that I'm hearing? Because it's got to bleed into what you're doing, because all they care about is letting you guys know if somebody's really injured or if they're just saying they're injured. I think that's the 2 questions, right?
Yeah.
As it relates to those injury reports, making sure those come out well in advance of the actual start of the events is key. So I think, many of the operators work with the leagues to ensure that the information is accurate, to ensure that it comes out well in advance of the actual tip-off or the game kicking off, whatever it may be. But yeah, no, it's definitely a significant, variable, because not only does it relate to those particular players and will they actually play or not, but there's a cascading effect there. There's a domino effect of how that impacts the rest of the team and the rest of the game for that matter. So those are very important little pieces of information to know.
Adam, there was a time where they said the NFL would never go to Las Vegas. We'd never have professional sports in Las Vegas.
Once again, 22-year-old NFL player, millionaires in Las Vegas. What could go wrong? What could go wrong?
All these leagues are based on making money and making more money. So they see that, hey, Vegas is a good option, or they see that daily fantasy, PrizePicks is a good option. Your relationships with these entities, I have to assume, is very, very strong.
Yeah, if you're talking about the leagues, obviously we open dialogues with the leagues and the teams. We're partnered with the Atlanta Braves, our hometown team, for the 4th year running this year. We've done partnerships throughout, a number of the major leagues as well. You were talking specifically about Las Vegas and Nevada. Fantasy sports has always kind of been blocked out of the state of Nevada. Obviously, it's a legacy, sports betting business, specifically brick and mortar. We've actually made the majority, or we kind of grew up and kind of put the emphasis for our product and our game around the South. In fact, it just so happened that California was also a very big focal point because it was one of the biggest markets that we could serve. But it's a good run, and we're able to entertain a lot of people throughout the country.
Adam, you have to come. We got to fly to San Diego. We need to spend
an hour show.
You need to come an hour of this, and we say that every time we get to do this. Adam, thank you so much. I appreciate you coming on the air with us. Adam Wexler is his name. PrizePicks is the name of the company. He's a co-founder. So you go to PrizePicks.com. There we go. See you in a minute.